Hello and welcome to your first video tutorial of the year. We will use these short videos anytime I need to cover content in which I would normally lecture or read from a document in class. This way you have the information before you come to class and we can really work with the information, the content, and applying it in class where I'm here to help you. So this video is about showing, not telling, which I'm sure you've heard before. And you've probably even worked with it before. I've created this Google document, which should be in your Google Drive, and it's shared with you, called Showing, Not Telling. So you can look for it and refer back to it as needed. So some examples of telling versus showing I have for you right here. A tell would directly state to the reader what is happening, what the emotion is. Mariah was scared. If the writer wanted to show that and have you do some work, some inferring, what was happening, how the character felt, an example of that would be all of the color drained from Mariah's face and her bottom lip began to quiver. Here the writer has used details, some movements of the lip quivering, word choice, to convey that Mariah is scared without directly stating it. In the example below, and we discussed this in reading the Lahiri piece, that moment when Lahiri tells us that her mother signed the inside cover of the book with mother instead of ma, and then she states mother was an alternate guardian. She did this to create some ambiguity, and she's actually telling us a few things as we discussed. She's telling us that her mother wrote the more formal mother to show that it was an object she also treasured. Her mother also treasured this object. But Lahiri saw it as another disconnect from her ma's reading life. She could have outright stated that, but it wouldn't have had the kind of pleasure of trying to figure that out, the ambiguity. It could mean this, it could mean that. And I think that the way Lahiri chose to write that was more effective. So figuring out when to show versus when to tell can sometimes be tricky. The whole piece can't be showing. You sometimes need to tell. That piece would be too long. It would be probably too vague. So when to show? You want to show an emotion or an action most often when it's central to your theme or purpose in writing. You want that reader to really feel and picture that emotion or action because it's so central to what you're trying to say. Now, when to tell, then, is when a piece isn't so important to the theme or purpose. It's not significant. So that emotion or action are not central to the piece. You may also choose to tell for brevity's sake. You need to be brief. You've done a lot of showing. Now you just need to tell. You've got that word count to worry about. You also can choose to tell, when you're retelling events that you've already shown or the reader is already familiar with. So if we had already read that piece that Mariah's face was drained of color and her bottom lip began to quiver, and a couple sentences later, we might just want to say how scared she was and without showing it again. You also want to retell. So those are some examples of when to show and when to tell. Your assignment this evening is to look over the brainstorming you have already done for both the Encyclopedia of an Ordinary Life or the brainstorming you did in class today, and use those as a jumping off point. Select one of those and write a short paragraph where you concentrate on the skill of showing, not telling. Choose an emotion or action and really work with this technique. We'll be sharing those tomorrow in class, so be sure that you come to class with them. You can do them right in your journal. You can email me with any questions and I'll be more than happy to answer. Good luck.